be aware of your sin. If you're going to be in His presence, one thing's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. You're going to be aware of your shortcomings, your flaws, and your sinfulness. Amen? You can't spend time in His presence, and yet there is no mention, there's no cognizance. Yakkov doesn't see any need for repentance, and Yahweh doesn't give him a postscript saying, P.S., before you get up, don't forget, there are some issues in your life. You're a thief, you stole the blessing, the bracha, and the bechorah. We don't see any of that. That is all commentary. Matthew Henry, name your preacher. Name your preacher du jour. Name your pastor du jour. These are lies we've been taught. They're not accurate. They're not scriptural. And they're not kosher. And they're not healthy for the understanding of a believer. Because Yaakov was our father. Jacob was our father. Just like Abraham was our father in the faith, so was Yaakov. Remember when we were kids? Can we talk? You can say just about anything, but don't talk about my mom. Don't talk about my mother. You can do anything, say anything, but that you can't cross that line. Don't you say anything about my, right? Well, pardon me. If He is our father, and He was the father of the faithful and the father of the Kiddushim, then we ought to take offense. Don't let the offense abide. Don't let the sun go down in your anger. But we ought to stop that wrong, incorrect thinking before people keep funneling it into our conscience. Is this too difficult? But you won't hear this in many places. You don't need to have a degree in rocket science to figure this out. But you won't hear this in a lot of places. Because they believe Jacob was a thief and a deceiver and a manipulator. And those who teach that are teaching through an anti-Semitic spirit. I want you to understand that. They may not be anti-Semitic. They may love the Jews and they may love the two houses. But it's a spirit that is anti-Semitic. Baruch Hashem. Let's continue. All accusations against Yaakov are false. And thus to believe these accusations would actually incriminate Yahweh Himself. Again, if Yahweh had been unrepentant in His behavior that needed repentance, why would Yahweh bless him and establish the covenant with him again? Turn to your neighbor and say again. Again. Is anyone enjoying? Amen. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Bereshit 28. Bereshit 28, verse 20. Let's scroll down to verse 20. Bereshit, the book of beginnings, chapter 28, verse 20. And Yaakov vowed a vow saying this: if the word of Elohim, meaning Yeshua, we know Yeshua appeared to him, because the Father has appeared to how many people in history? None. No man can see the Father and live. So who was hanging out with Yeshua, with Yaakov at the top of Yahweh's ladder? It was Yeshua. It is Yeshua's ladder. And that's why in the Restoration Scriptures True Name Edition it says, Rachel what? If the, not Elohim, but if the word of Elohim, because that's what it says in the Aramaic, in the Targums. If the word of Elohim is with me, that's Yeshua, and will keep me in this way I go to Padan Aram to take a wife from the house of Laban, my uncle, then I will and will give me lechem to eat and clothing to put on, so that I come again to my Abba's bayit in Shalom, back in Canaan. Then the word of Yahweh will be my Elohim. So he set conditions, but that doesn't make him a deceiver and a manipulator. He put a fleece before Yahweh just like some of us do, right? When we want to test Yahweh, say, Yahweh, if you do this, I'll do this. If you do that, I'll do that, right? So he's not manipulating, he's just walking by lack of faith and by sight. Just like we do sometimes. Yahweh, I promise, pretty please with sugar, pretty please with gefilte fish and herring and abyssal matzo ball soup. If you give me a wife, I'm single, I'm lonely, then I'll go to church. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. if you give me a baby, oh no, puppy, what baby? Please, I don't care about the money and all these beautiful things you've given me. You just want that baby, you just want that job, you just want just that one if, and you give Yahweh all these things. Hello? That's okay. Because that's our heart crying out to Yahweh, and that's crying out to Yahweh from a broken heart. But that doesn't make you a liar and a deceiver and a manipulator. Talk to me, somebody.
Amen.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Okay, so let's look a little bit closer. So I came again, and when I come to my Abba's house, then the word of Yahweh will be my Elohim. And this stone which I have set for a pillar, verse 22, shall be Elohim's bayit. And of all that you shall give me, I will surely give the maaser, or the tithe, to Yahweh. Now look, there are others, listen, you're not going to believe this one. There are others that believe that it was in Bethel, on the way to Padanaram, when he meets Yeshua on the top of Yeshua's ladder, that Jacob, Yakkov, becomes a believer. That before this, he was a conniver, and he was a manipulator, and he was a deceiver. But right here, with Yaakov's ladder, which we know is not Yaakov's ladder, but rather is Yeshua's ladder, that here he finally gets his heart right with gold. Gold as in toad and road. We don't believe in gold. We believe in Yahweh, maker of heaven and earth. Esa'enai el ha'arim me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me Yahweh oseh shamayim ve'aretz. Talk to me, somebody.
Amen.
Allah is a gold. Mickey Mouse is a gold. He's the gold of his kingdom. What kingdom is that? The magic kingdom. Your landlord is a gold. Because when you don't pay the rent, and if he wants you on the street, you'll find out very quick he's a gold. So when you're talking about the Elohim of the Bible, you better learn to call him by name. This is not a cult where you just come and, well, you know, one place says Lord, and, you know, Senor, and, you know, one place says, no, this is not a religion du jour. Yahweh has a personal name, and we are to be called because the 144,000 are called by his name. The mark of the beast is the name of Allah, and the mark of Yahweh's people that we just put on our children. When Zechariah prayed, he didn't just pray something out of a book. He placed the name of Yahweh on the children.
Amen.
Come on.
Teach.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Teach.
Todah Rabbi Yahweh. So I heard a lot of preachers preach that right here in Bereshit 28:20, Jacob repents, gives his heart to Yahweh, and then Yahweh shares things that will happen in the future, and that Jacob becomes a believer. But this is a bunch of what? Baloney. Because we know from Sefer Yashar, or the book of Jasher, that Jacob went to the house of Shem, the son of Noah, the first Melchizedek, to learn the ways of Yahweh and the Torah. And we know Jacob lived, walked, and abided by the Torah long before Yahweh encountered him here on the way to Padanaram in Bethel. Talk to me, somebody.
Amen. Yep.
To say that Jacob was a loser before that, before Yahshua's ladder, is to make Yahweh a liar. Because back in, I believe we talked about it last week, back further he said, Jacob is perfect. He declared Jacob to be righteous before he ever met Yaakov in Bethel on the way to Padanaram to find himself a what? A what? A wife. Amen?
Amen.
Is anyone with me?
Yes.
Are you with me?
Yes.
Are we on?
Yep.
Are we going?
We're going.
Where you going? Baruch Hashem Yahweh. For those listening in the Caribbean, don't know what that means. Where you going? We're going in the Ruach. In Yahweh, if you're not going forward, you're backsliding. Backsliding does not mean you're living in bars and living for the devil only. It means you're not progressing and growing into the fullness of the stature and the maturity of Yeshua. If you're not growing in fullness of stature and maturity, you're backsliding.
Amen.
And what's the first step to backsliding? I've arrived. You get that mentality in your head. I've arrived. I know what I need to know, and no one can teach me anything. Good luck. You're going to need it. Even though we don't believe in luck, good luck. Because then you're a candidate for the crushing hand of Yahweh. Yeshua said,